All right, good morning. Good to see everyone back. Good to be back in Rochester at St. John Fisher University, and certainly appreciate what the university does to accommodate us while we're here. I'd like to thank a couple of people, President Rooney, Head of Operations Todd Harrison, and Head Football Coach Paul Vosberg. I know it's not easy when people kind of move into your space, and there's a lot of work that goes into this in the weeks that lead up to camp and really the months that lead to camp. So appreciate everyone's help on campus here, around the community, and as well as the Buffalo Bills staff that have been here to help get this set up properly for us so we can have a successful camp. It is good to be in Rochester. We have a number of fans up here, and it's good to kind of put practice at their front door so they can come out and watch us and support us, and we certainly appreciate them showing up as they do, and people from all over showing up as they do. This is a unique environment as training camps go, and not surprised by the support that we get just based on Bills Mafia and how they roll. So it's good to be here, and with that, we'll turn it over to you with your questions.
So I guess I'll be the one to ask. Stefon is here. We saw the photo. You expect everything to be all systems go, Sean, and you hope that episode, whatever it was, is behind you?
Yes. No, we're in a good spot, and Steph is ready to practice. He's in the locker room now, and he put in a lot of hard work this summer. So team's ready to go. Looking forward to get out here to practice.
Will his ramp-up be any different because he did not participate in the outset?
No, not necessarily as it relates to that. It's just more overall, I think, specific to Steph, but also some of our veteran players just wanting to make sure we're ramping them up the right way, and also as we get going through the dog days of camp, so to speak, that we're monitoring their rep count and making sure that they're getting themselves ready to go, but also not wearing them out at the same time. We know what Steph can do. We know what type of player he is and what he means to our football team.
Sean, I know you were reluctant to get into details on that at the time that all went down. I would ask you this: is there anything you feel, whether it's schematically, from a relationship standpoint, that you need to work through, or that Ken or Josh and staff or whatever need to work through at this point?
No, we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot. As far as the team's concerned, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. So I think that's really our focus, and it should be our focus, is about the team and making sure we're putting the work out here that we need to put in.
So do you have an injury update? I know that you guys announced the pup moves yesterday, but maybe more specifically with Jordan and with Tyler.
With Jordan Phillips?
Yeah.
So yeah, just Jordan and Tyler, and then obviously Nyheim you're aware of, and then Vaughn. So those are the 3 or 4 guys that won't practice today.
What was Matakevich's? It was
A calf.
undisclosed calf.
Yeah.
Tommy Doyle was the guy that got on the field in the spring. Is he full go, or is he fall into that ramp-up category?
He's full go. He's full go. Yeah, he's full go. I mean, the entire team is going to be in a ramp-up mode.
Right.
We've always done that, but now, over the last couple of years in particular, the NFL mandates that, which I think is a good thing, taking care of the players and building them up the right way. As you guys know, some of you know, it didn't used to be like that. You'd report to camp, and it'd be the first 3 days would be 2-a-days and 2.5-hour practices and full pads, both practices, and interesting how times have changed a little bit there. So.
What's your level of disappointment with Hines, being hurt and missing the season?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm not going to get too much into it. He's a great young man, and I know what football means to him, and what this team means to him, and what he means to us. So it's a big loss for us, but we hope for a speedy recovery for Nyheim.
Do you feel like Hardy could be a part of your career? Are going to be early candidates to take over those return duties?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into speculation on who and when and all that type of stuff, but we're going to get out there and practice today, and first practice, and go from there.
In terms of your new role with defensive coordinator responsibilities and that sort of thing, as you begin camp, looking back, how much were you able to accomplish through the offseason program? Do you feel like you're behind schedule, on schedule, maybe ahead of schedule heading into training camp from a defensive execution and management standpoint?
From the team standpoint or my
From your
standpoint?
standpoint as head coach and defensive coordinator, where things stand defensively and how much work you...
Yeah, I feel like I got a lot of work to do, honestly. That's, part of what being here is about. And to this point, I think it's worked well, but that remains to be seen, really. So just like I ask our players and coaches to do, is to work hard. I've got to work hard to get myself ready to go in that capacity, and I look forward to doing that.
Sean, there's been several situations around the league where guys have gotten, I guess, in trouble with the gambling policy and the rules with that. What kind of education do you or the league provide to make sure you guys are aware of everything they are allowed to or not allowed to do?
Yeah, the NFL does a great job of educating our players and our staff. And for us, we held that meeting in the spring, where they came out and educated us on what is in bounds and what is out of bounds, and so that should provide great clarity to us as we move forward. And it's a little bit new, right, for all of us, this gambling being around the NFL, and how this whole world is evolving around us as we speak. So it's important to know kind of where the guardrails are.
Sean, how do you prepare and watch film, if at all, differently when you're a head coach as opposed to the defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just through a different lens. Sometimes it means, and it will mean, and it has in the past as well to some extent, but more so now, even going back through the film more than once. So there's a lot of film that we capture out here, and so that takes some time. So I'll go through it with the defensive staff when we're done practice. Usually I was able to hang out a little bit after practice, catch up with Brandon and Terry and our trainer Nate Bresky, and so sometimes that'll still be the case, but more times than not, if all goes well at practice, I need to get out of here and get back to stay on schedule with those guys, with the defensive staff, because then there's a follow-up meeting with the players to review the film, and then I'll have to come back and watch it from an offensive and special teams perspective as well. So it's just a little bit of extra work.
More time in the lab, it sounds like.
More time in the lab, yeah.
You told us a few times when talking about that how excited you are to kind of do this again. Do you feel that more with training camp? Has that worn off since the early days, or where are you feeling about that right now?
Yeah, I think first and foremost the staff has done a really good job of complimenting me in the way of offsetting when I'm not in that role of a head coach and I'm working. I'm pulled some other direction, whether it's Matt Warswick, my assistant, Matt Smiley, who steps up during the situations that we run at practice. You guys saw that in the spring. Really, the staff overall has done a great job of making my job a little bit easier that way. And then I look forward to it. I told the defense last night that I'm excited about doing this. I think one of the byproducts that I saw in the spring was just getting around the team a little bit more. Sometimes as a head coach, as Kyle, I think it was Kyle Williams used to tell me, you're kind of up in the behind the mahogany desk, right? That was his vision of it. I think it was Kyle. I think there is a piece of that that's accurate, that you're not always around the people that you really need to and want to be around because the job pulls you. So that'll be the pull for me, really, is making sure I'm trying to, I'm in both places at once. But I think the byproduct is getting closer and building closer relationships with the players and with the coaches, which I look forward to.
Sean, do you have a mahogany desk?
No, I don't subscribe to that approach.
I was going to ask you said about coming into camp the way it used to be. It's evolved a lot through the years.
Yeah.
For a guy who's been around and done this for a while, was that hard to adjust to? And I'm assuming maybe even as the years go on, teams are doing, I'll say less strain on the players because you're ramping up for an entire long season. Is that tough to adjust to, and do you even adjust more this year maybe than you even did last year with getting the players ready more than, let's say, working them harder at training camp?
Yeah, I think just overall it's the evolution of sports science and integrating that into what we do, analytics as well, which I'm a believer in. Obviously, it's not the answer, but it's part of the answer that we come to as a staff. Always trying to to put them in a position to be the best version of themselves. I know we say that a lot, but that's, I think, part of what that is. Does it get frustrating at times? Yes, because you feel like you've done enough of it and you want to be able to get into some other parts that they're going to have to execute, come game time, but all things in due time.
Now, Sean, speaking of adjustments, Damar Hamlin adjusting back to everyday practice and preparing for full contact. He's been cleared for full contact. That's a question. And, has he been cleared for full contact? And do you expect any trepidation from him or his teammates when it comes down to that first moment of full contact during training?
Yeah, with Damar's situation, like I mentioned in the spring, he has our full support and always will. And then we'll continue to take it one day at a time, and we'll go at his cadence. At this point, he's full go, and we'll take it one day at a time. So I think that's the best approach.
Hey, Sean, with Gabe Davis, how much confidence do you have that he can take a step forward this year and be that solid for 2
Yeah, extreme confidence in Gabe. He's one of our hardest workers. He loves football. He's passionate about it, and when you follow that up with the work ethic, good things happen. And so, I know there's been a lot written about last season and all that. He's a good football player and will always be one, and I'm excited to watch him this season.
I know every year is a reset, but considering everything that went in even beyond football a year ago, is it maybe extra refreshing with this reset, looking forward to 2023 and putting everything of 2022 behind?
Yes, to an extent. I don't think we definitely look kind of in the what's ahead of us as opposed to what's behind us. But those experiences you take with you from a learning standpoint and a wisdom standpoint. I think we all went through that, right? So whether it's Damar's situation or many other things that we went through, I think it makes you stronger as you go forward, and that's a lesson for my kids. It's a lesson for everyone out there. It's part of who we are, and it makes you stronger moving forward.
We talked a lot about taking a step forward from rookie year to year 2 and kind of like what goes into that. Is there anything specifically for Kyer you're kind of looking for him to do in camp, like things specifically you're looking for him to do?
Well, I think that those conversations take place directly between myself, Kyer, and his position coach. Is just continue to grow really more than anything. He works extremely hard. This game's important to him. Being good is important to him. And so he has the DNA that way, and now he goes out there and he competes, and just like the rest of them do. So it's going to be a learning opportunity starting this morning, and he'll continue to grow.
Sean, with regard to a middle linebacker, you had said, I think it was during OTAs, that you're going to wait till the pads go on, that's when you truly evaluate. That probably applies to a lot of positions out here. What's your timetable for making a decision as you enter training camp? Because it is vital from a communication and rep standpoint.
Yeah.
How do you see that move?
Yeah, I don't want to really put a kind of a hard stop on when that's going to be declared, when that decision is going to be made. You're right, though. There is value to making that sooner than later. We'll know when we know, and so we've got to let that play out a little bit here at camp and get into the pads and see who leads the defense the right way, and because that's also a big piece of that position. So I'm excited about the players we have at that position, and look forward to watching them develop here.
Hey, Sean, with adding the defensive coordinator responsibilities, in terms of game day operations, specifically when the offense is on the field, how are you going to kind of meld the role between head coach and defensive coordinator? Are you going to be with the defensive personnel groups, or are you going to be paying attention to the offense? What goes into that?
Yeah, so I've thought through that. I think it'll be a little bit of an experience, that first preseason game, quite honestly, Joe, with going through it firsthand. I've done my research on it, though, and also thought through it pretty extensively to this point. So, obviously a lot of the situations that do come up are offensively related situations, so you want to be up there, bless you, with the offense when they have the ball. That said, there are messages that need to get to the defensive players and adjustments and whatnot, so it'll be calculated when we do it and how we do it.
Is research for that, like talking to other coaches who have gone from head coach to adding that on, like what kind of research can you do into figuring out
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that is in addition to the strengths of your own staff, in this case my staff, our staff here, and then it's always trying to fill out where you're most needed. I think too at the end of the day, and using your instinct.
With Leonard Floyd, now that you've spent more time around Leonard Floyd, just where do you see him making an impact on this team, whether it's on the field, in the locker room, like what has he brought during?
Yeah, we're excited to have Leonard. He got here, really arrived late in spring, so it was only a couple weeks where he was around us. So I think that's one of the areas, and we've got questions that we have to get answered at camp, right? Like any team, and middle linebacker, corner. In this case, with Leonard, specific to your question, that relationship has to grow so that we get to understand what he does best, and he understands our system, the intricacies of our system. Just because. Yeah, I think he arrived 2 weeks to go in spring or somewhere thereabouts. So that'll be this will be a getting to know time for us as well as it is for him.
You kind of have to preach patience to Von because he's such an optimistic and positive person. I mean, he's already talking about when he can come back. For you, how do you navigate that? Because obviously you want him to get back as soon as possible, but you don't want to get him back too soon.
Yeah, he's been through this before. So I have full trust and confidence in Von, whether it's playing football or, in this case, rehabbing and getting himself back to where and when he's ready. So, he's not one to slow down intentionally just to slow down. He wants to be out there. But I also have to trust him and our trainers to know when that time is exactly. And so, we're kind of going at his cadence as well as Nate's cadence on it. And I wish I could heal as quickly as he's healed. I got little cuts, and they don't even heal as fast as he's been healing off an ACL. So I'm fully confident that he'll be ready.
Sean, what's been your message to the team about managing your own goals and expectations going into a season where you want to try and get over the hump and make that long goal at the end of the season, but that's so far away? How do you talk to the team about that?
Yeah, I mean, we have goals. I'm not going to get into what they are. I think really the goals need, come from the team. They're derived from the players, and they take ownership of those goals. And our leadership, our guys do a great job of leading our team. So right now it's about taking it really one step at a time, one day at a time. As you guys know, tis the season for a lot of projections and talk, and I'll let you guys live in that world. We live in the world of one day at a time and one snap at a time. So that's really what we're here to do, is put one foot in front of the other, work hard, answer the questions we have with our roster, some of the position battles. I'm excited to watch those develop, and just get down to playing good, solid, fundamentally physical, hard-nosed football.
Sean,
you talked about Josh showing more focus or being refocused, or a new determination about him. He spoke about having a sense of the window closing on some of the older guys, and maybe on this team in some ways, and especially with the older guys. What do you appreciate about that, and is that might be something you see in him and as a step forward?
You always ask these multi-layered questions, John. So the first one was about Josh's focus.
Josh's focus, and when I asked him about it, he talked about the sense of a window closing as far as an urgency with the older veterans to get them a championship, and because this group is not going to be around for however many years, and he senses that. What do you appreciate about that?
Well, he's a man of the people. He's a teammate, right? I mean, that's he has great awareness for that. I mean, the guys that he plays with are important to him. We had one of our interactions yesterday was brief, but he said to me, "Are you excited to be back at camp?" And I said to him the same question, and he loves camp, and that doesn't come out of every player's mouth when they're going away to college dorms. That's just the nature of what it is, right? So I just think he really enjoys being around his teammates as you guys know, he has them over from time to time to his house. He likes that camaraderie, that fellowship. So I think that's just part of who he is. And so if I were his teammate, I would appreciate that of one of those older guys that you're alluding to, that, you know, he understands the urgency that way. But overall, it's a new season, and you have to take it one step at a time. I think, again, I think that's the right approach.
Sean, you say that one step at a time. Obviously, it is a long season, and you have a lot of familiar faces here. But what are you really trying to establish today, day one, for this new team?
Yeah, I think, you know, the biggest thing is we always talk about two things at the introduction meeting, which happened last night, and really the first one is why we go away to camp. I don't know how many teams still do it. Maybe less than a third of the NFL teams still do it. And I think it's because of the advances in facilities and resources people have now at these new facilities that people are getting. And we feel the same about our facility. But that being said, we also feel there's value in getting away to camp for at least the time that we're going to be here for. And I think a big piece of that is really building the relationships where guys can hang out after practice and get to know one another a little bit better, whether it's, you know, just time talking football or, you know, playing cards, whatever it is. You see, some of you guys may see the chairs that they have lined up along the walkway up top there, and that's, you find guys after a meal sitting there just hanging out, getting off their feet, but also just talking life. And I think that goes a long way in terms of building a football team, or any team for that matter. That chemistry is important. That bond is important. If you don't have that, it's hard to get it once the season happens, because it's go during the season. And the other piece is that, you know, we're here and we're trying to build an identity of our football team, especially when the pads come on. And if you don't build that physical identity, that's hard to do as well once the season gets going, in terms of being able to play physical football and run the football and stop the run and be a physical football team overall.
What do you see when you watch Dalton Kincaid, and what do you project his impact on your offense can be this season?
Yeah, I mean, and listen, I'm around my TV in the off season and that break, and so I get a chance to watch all the, again, stuff that's said about he's going to be used in this position and that position, and he's going to be like this player. And I just like to let the guy have one practice out here. Can we just take that approach, and let's just let him put his helmet on today and get out there in front of the fans and enjoy it, and bless you, and put some work in before we say he's going to be worth this many catches and, you know, all that type of this on fantasy and whatever it is, man. It's just let him get out there and get his first NFL training camp practice in.
We'll check back.
Yeah, yeah.
You have a lot of vets in this locker room, obviously, but what's your message to the young people, the young players who want to be go right out of the gate, right? They want to be 100%. They want to be to where they are at the end of the season in training camp. How do you preach patience to them, the young guys who are just coming in for the first or second time?
Well, I think you got to be really internally focused. I think that's where it starts. You know, if you're out there and you're counting numbers at my position, you know, at your position, and you're saying, hey, well, they're probably only going to keep 5 at my position, and there's 7 guys here, and you start, you know, kind of doing the calculation in your head. I don't think that's a healthy mindset. We talked last night about that, and I think there's really, this time of year in camp, there's really 2 types of players: the players that are just trying to get through one day, and there's players who are trying to get themselves ready for the season. And usually those guys are more the veteran players who have been through it. But some of the young guys, you know, they know the situation. They've heard stories. And the best thing they can do is, again, like I said, stay internally focused, control what they can control, and come out every day and compete.
Sean, when you talk about the middle linebacker position, the communication side of it, is that a responsibility, wearing the green dot, calling the plays, that you definitely want to have with your middle linebackers, or would you be comfortable giving that to another position like some teams have done around the league?
Yeah, ideally, you know, I'd like it to be the middle linebacker, but, you know, I'm open. If it isn't, it isn't. That's okay too. So I'm open to whatever comes to be the best for the team.
Coach, where do you see James Cook in the backfield, like his role for this year? What are you looking for out of him?
Yeah, again, you know, roles to me are defined a little bit more once we get to cut down time. Right now, it's, hey, go out there and compete and continue to grow as a football player. I mean, he's just in his second year. now. So we'll see how that competition plays out.
Outside of the campus here at St. John Fisher, what's your favorite part of the Rochester area?
Oh boy, I've got probably a couple things.
Do you have a favorite part?
Oh yeah, I mean, first of all, the area is this Pittsford area is absolutely beautiful, and the surrounding communities, the fan support. I like Pittsford Dairy as well, which I've seen a couple of you there, maybe some of you more than once. So you just need a little bit of checks and balances on that for you guys, right?
I've never been there, Sean. Get off my case.
What's your flavor?
I go with a a chocolate milkshake, but a chocolate malt. I think not everybody has malts these days, and I'm kind of an old-fashioned ice cream guy. I think I got that from my mom. She always liked malts when I was growing up. So
We'll see you there.
yeah. I'll be there a few times. You can't report that though.